listening to Pop This, the podcast where three women talk about pop culture. Here are your hosts, Lisa Christiansen, Andrea Gin, and Andrea Warner.
So I don't want to start our podcast on, a downbeat necessarily, but so I was at a memorial service a few weeks ago, and I just thought it was such a kind of cool, interesting idea. This woman, Kathy, she sadly passed away after a long battle with cancer. But before she did, she also used to work at VIF. And so she planned a day of her favorite movies to be shown at VIF Theater for free.
Wow.
So everybody who knew and loved her could come and see her films and, hear them say a few words about her, and people, stood up and said a few things about her, and, just like a day for people to think about her love of film and why she chose these movies. And
What were the movies? Some of them.
They were very interesting. She chose the one that I saw was this crime thriller. She chose a film noir. And then the one that I didn't go to at the end of the night was a surprise. It was a surprise film. It just said that in the program. They didn't tell you until you got there what it was going to be. And it was her favorite film was going to be shown.
Oh,
yeah.
That's fantastic. I mean, that's pretty niche to her, who she was, right? I don't know if I would like a whole bunch of people to go and watch Romancing the Stone and think about me, but
I think that's a great thing to do, actually. In lieu of a service, right? It was just all the people that knew her could. I don't know. I think that's just kind of a neat idea because
I love it.
Was there lots of tears and?
Yeah, you could see people tearing up and. Yeah,
well, because there's little speeches, right, that go along with the movies and talking about why it meant something to her or whatever.
Yeah, or her VIF colleague got up and talked about how important she was, how nice she was to work with and stuff like that. And so, yeah, the movie that I saw was Anatomy of a Murder.
Oh, okay, yeah. Is that Alfred Hitchcock?
No, but it was a little Hitchcockian for sure.
Hitchcockian makes me laugh. Sorry.
I know, it just made me laugh.
I love that idea. I'm always thinking about I don't know. Well, I mean, I'm not always, but I think frequently about different styles of ritual and mourning and grief and I see a lot of value in there being just so many different ways to sort of say goodbye to people and process that together. And I love the idea of someone, well, one, because I'm a control freak, curating my own goodbye. Perfect. That's that would be great. But two, just thinking about all the things that I love the most in the world and giving that opportunity to the people I love to share that in some capacity. I think that's really lovely.
Yeah, no, I do too. I didn't mean to say, I just was trying to.
Lisa, you hate death. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I mean, I don't embrace death, but I think a creative memorial service is. I went to actually a wake before someone died. They knew they were dying, so.
Oh wow.
They wanted to have their own wake beforehand, and that was good, but quite heartbreaking.
That would be very intense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can see how it would be really wonderful and celebratory and stuff, but I can see how it would be very intense as well.
Oh, it was. Lots of good food though.
Did that person what kind of were speeches given? Did that person talk to every person individually to say something or?
No, we just all kind of came together and he was pretty frail then, but he really, really wanted to do this, and he just wanted all the people there. There were a good 100 people probably came throughout the day.
Wow.
Yeah, Yeah. And,
So it wasn't an airing of the grievances.
No,
It wasn't like,
no. No, and he was dead in 3 weeks after that. So
oh.
yeah, so it was good. And then, I don't want to say the funeral was anticlimactic, but no, I'm just kidding.
But it sounds like he would appreciate that you said that.
He would appreciate that. Yeah. But yeah, I mean that we don't all know though. We don't all know when
No.
we're going to
Yeah.
go. So, but I do like the idea of something creative like that.
Yeah. I like I can just like see like in my head I'm just like I know that at least like 4 people would like mourn wrong and I want to cut that off at the pass, you know? Like I just
What does that mean? What does that mean?
Mourn wrong.
yeah, like they would just make it like too much about like just like it would be too dramatic for them. It would be just too much and I just want, like
That's
feel your
what-
feelings, but maybe like just like chill like 2 beats slower,
Yeah.
you know?
But that's what was nice about this day of movies, because it was like spread out over a day, and her partner was there, and he was able to just kind of casually chat with people, and it wasn't, overly, well, at least when what I saw, it was nobody was getting like overly emotional or
Uh-huh.
anything like that, because it was just like in this context of like this nice way to celebrate her.
Yeah.
And yet people were still able to like, go up to him and say a few words and stuff. And,
Yeah.
And it was well attended.
oh yeah. Yeah.
I think everyone's real secret fear is that they die like Eleanor Rigby or something like that. And but so you'd like to know it was a robust crowd made it.
Yeah, I want everyone to be just sad enough, but like still also celebratory of the life that I lived.
Yeah. You want them to definitely weep. I mean, I would like some
absolutely.
weeping.
You better be beside yourself, but not
Yeah.
too beside yourself.
Yeah, with elegant weeping. More of a dabbing.
I want to see your eye makeup droop,
Oh,
but
boy.
I don't want you to look like Alice Cooper. Like
Yeah.
so it's a real fine line.
Not an ugly cry, or do you want some ugly crying?
I don't mind like a little bit of ugly crying, but I don't want to see anyone like throw themselves on the floor.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay.
No.
I'm going to knock on wood here and say none of us are going to have to think about this for a while. So that's a
Fingers
good
But
thing.
but I
Yes.
have made a mental note.
You've made a mental note. Good. Thank you.
Yeah, mental note. And
Thank you.
if someone's leaving your memorial and they haven't quite given what you wanted, I will go up and say something that makes them extra sad. And then
Thank you. But if
Yeah.
they've given too much, you kick them and say, "Get up off the floor."
All right.
Andrea would not appreciate that.
all right, let's keep it moving. Come on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember? Again, knock on wood, this won't happen. I'm knocking on as many wooden surfaces as I can. Anyway, but do you remember how, like, my 40th birthday, I don't think either of you were necessarily prepared, but, like, for whatever reason, suddenly the room just decided that the two of you had to speak?
Oh yes.
And
Yeah.
like-
Oh yes. Yes, I do.
Like,
Oh.
and there were a ton of people who have known me my entire life, and not that you two shouldn't have spoken, but like it was just so funny to me that like everyone just turned to you two and be like, "I think Lisa and Andrea Gin are going to be the ones who speak tonight," but like no one had asked you.
No, and
They
it got
just,
very
like,
quiet.
They just
And I loved how
acclaimed.
it was like you had thrown it in a theater.
I know.
And so it was like we were standing on stage at a theater performing. It was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't even like that huge a crowd. It was like, I don't know, 50 people or something. But like, yeah, it was.
It was enough to make me feel a little uncomfortable. So if that's what you were going for,
Fair enough.
Good.
I
it
wasn't
worked.
going for anything. I didn't think
Well,
anyone
yeah.
had to speak.
Do you remember how I remember you had arrived that morning from a vacation in
in
Hawaii?
Hawaii, and you hadn't
Yep.
slept at all.
Nope. And I remember you leaving the day before you left, you kind of sent out this email to people that was like, "I'm planning this huge 40th birthday party. It's weird, but I'm just arriving back from Hawaii the day of the party." can you all assist with these things? Because I won't be here. Yeah, that was amazing to me.
I mean, I do know how to delegate. As much as I'm a control freak, I do know how to delegate.
But that is
it was a good party, though.
Because you took the red-eye flight, arrived from Hawaii, worked on your party the entire day, and then partied the whole evening and night away.
Yeah, it was a really memorable 40th birthday. Did I ever tell you guys, like, my confession is that I just booked the flight wrong coming back?
Oh.
I was supposed to arrive on the I got the overnight confused because we flew a red eye, so I got the overnight confused.
Oh my God.
Well, I mean, it's better that you did that than arrived like the next day by accident.
Yeah, they were all at your party without you.
You know what? It could have happened, but yeah.
I mean, I guess to wrap it back, that's what a memorial is, a party you're not at, right?
I will say, like, if I had to, for when we come out of the pandemic, hopefully at some point there's a space or maybe even between waves where we can have some kind of party again. I would really love to attend the party that happened in this show that we're going to talk about. Not the sex party. That was fun too.
Oh.
But I would like to attend the
Ellen party?
No, the king. No, that's sort of the sex party. I would like to attend the king and queen's party and like the high tea party.
Yes. Okay.
Because that looked so fun to me. And this is my segue.
Oh, I was impressed. I thought it was coming, but still. Bravo.
It's better when I don't announce it, but I can't help it. Sometimes I'm pretty self-congratulatory. I'm Andrea Warner.
I'm Lisa Christiansen.
I'm Andrea Gin.
And you're listening to Pop This. And I'm really
We're alive
excited.
and kicking. We are.
We're alive and kicking.
Yeah.
I mean, say what you want about the Ellen themed party at the on sort of, but it was hilarious.
Incredible.
And I was still laughing about the two people dressed as Ellen Pompeo.
Yes.
Two is too many Ellen Pompeos. I just want to put that out there. Like that's yeah.
And there was no Ellen von Ewenworth, the photographer. That's who I would have come as, but that's me.
Ooh, I could see stretching it to the Helen, like some people did.
Well, that's Sebi. She went. They went as Helen of Troy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that. It was like you don't pronounce the H in Europe. I like that's great. Incredible. Well done, Sebi.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're talking about sort of like finally, because we have all wanted to talk about the show for like a while, and got caught up in Oscar stuff, and
I'm ashamed to say that it took me so long to get around to watching this. I think it's partially because I'm so addicted to watching stuff on TV that I don't watch stuff on my computer that much, but I'm so glad I did.
Yeah, exactly. If only Gem would go on my TV, so yes, I have to watch it on a computer as well.
Oh, I was able to watch it on my TV. I'm sorry to brag.
Oh, wow. Oh.
But it is worth it to watch it on your computer as well.
Oh, yeah. No taking away. If you get a little snack, you can put it on the desk. It's great.
Yeah. And if you don't have Gem, you can also watch it on HBO Max.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Okay. Well, anyway, I watched it on Gem.
Yeah. Sort of is just incredible. I love it so much. Let's give a little bit of background. Sort of is a Canadian television sitcom released on CBC television in 2021, created by Bilal Bey and Fab Filippo. The series stars Bey as Sabi Mahbub, a non-binary millennial trying to balance their roles as a child of Pakistani immigrant parents, a bartender at an LGBTQ bookstore and cafe, and a caregiver to the young children of a professional couple.
Would you call this a sitcom?
I think so. Like, I mean, it's maybe a bit like on the dramedy side of it.
Yeah, that's what I would go.
I thought it was like very funny.
Oh yeah, it's
I think it has
definitely
like more
a comedy, but I don't know if I'd call it a
situation comedy is really what But I know what you mean. It's not like, it's not like
Yeah.
you're watching Friends or something.
Yeah.
No, but I think that like the showrunners like bill it as a comedy.
Oh no, it's funny. I would go dramedy. I would
Yeah, I would say
definitely
dramedy.
that. Yeah, for sure. And who's gonna read the synopsis? You do it. You do it.
Okay. Sabi Mahboob is floating through liminal space. A gender fluid young adult in Toronto, Sabi has a cisgender boyfriend who shrinks from them in public and a traditional Pakistani Muslim mother who's in denial about who her child is. Sabi works as a nanny and a bartender, but has yet to decide what they really want out of life. After missing an opportunity to soul search in Berlin, this gentle, self-effacing character must find the courage to fuse the pieces of their fragmented life without leaving home. The aptly titled Sort of traces this awkward yet poignant evolution. And Bay, an affable performer, as well as a keen observer of human behavior, is one of the most intriguing new voices I've encountered on TV this year. And that's from Judy Berman via her roundup of the best TV of 2021 for Time magazine.
Judy's list is pretty great, and I really appreciated like how concise but in depth this particular little capsule was.
Mm-hmm.
I know it doesn't mention sort of like the big accident that sort of is the catalyst for a lot of things that happen, but we can get into that ourselves.
Well, let me just say I agree. It took me a while to get to the show because I think it was recommended. Gosh, when did you recommend it, AG?
Oh, I started watching it like last year for sure.
Really? Last year? Oh, I'm
Yeah.
embarrassed. I'm embarrassed. Okay.
No.
Well,
I started watching it last year, but then I actually didn't end up because we were going to talk about it and I thought we would talk about it earlier. I only watched the first 2 episodes like we normally do. But then when it got pushed back a little bit, I only finished watching it like last week.
Oh, okay. I'm
I
ahead
saved
of
it.
you.
Have they announced if it's been renewed for
It has.
a second season? Oh,
In
awesome.
February 2022, it got announced that they're getting a season 2.
Excellent.
More bravos. More bravos. Yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
I really let's just I'll just start us off on first impressions, and I loved this show. I loved every second of it. I was so sad when it ended. I wanted it to keep going. I felt, I knew that they ended it in such a way as you want a season 2, and they really set it up so that a season 2 has a place to go right away. But I just can't gush enough about a show that I love so much.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, thinking about all of the great television of 2021, like this is right up amongst like the best of the best. And I also really loved this show so much. I loved all of the characters. I loved the humor. The humor, this might sound weird, but like Sebi's humor really reminded me of AG, actually, like the deadpan and the like the deadpan, but still like with heart.
What a compliment.
Like, honestly, truly, like
So
it really,
flattering.
it really reminded me. And so anyway, and I loved all of the different relationships. Like, do we spend a little bit too much time with Paul, the dad? Yeah, a little bit. I could use less of him.
He gets burned pretty badly though in several, like he has several burns from other characters, and that's deeply satisfying.
Oh, it's deeply satisfying, absolutely. The only other thing I will say that sort of took me out of the show the tiniest bit was the weird pathologizing of like food. Like when food gets to be a comfort and a love, it's great. When food is positioned as this like weird punishment, like when Paul like just is shoving food into his face all the time and like telling kids that they can't have sugar, like it just there's like there's a bit of a disconnect there for me, but the rest of it I loved so much. Everything else about it I loved so much.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, I enjoyed the entire thing. I basically binged it over like a few days because I couldn't stop watching it. And like beyond, it's really well written, really well acted. It's an amazing character that we don't get to see on TV, and you know, like I appreciate that so much. But beyond all of that, it's just a beautiful show to watch too. It's just like shot in such a nice cinematic way. The colors are just beautiful. Everything about it is just like so high quality and so nice, and it's just a pleasure to watch it.
I think when I really love a show, and I think when I was mentioning it with somebody somewhere, is that they managed to create a world of their own. And the show did such a good job of that, of creating this very small world that Sebi and the other characters live in. And I know that's also by design for the show, because it is supposed to show how small their world really is, and, you know, how it just exists around these very few people. But I still felt that it had such a feeling to it. And I think, you know, you're right, it might have something to do with the way it was shot. But it just had, when you were, each episode, you wanted to be in that world again. And that's another thing I really liked about it.
Yeah, and I really, there's so many ways to sort of write characters with like less nuance, sort of relying on tropes or something. But like, even the children are written so beautifully. Like Violet, the character of Violet, I guess, I don't know. We're going to talk about all the episodes, and I don't know if we need to really provide like a full structure of what's happening, but like, Sebi is a caretaker, nanny to Violet and Henry. They are the children of Bessie and Paul. Bessie and Sebi have like kind of a close relationship, and then Bessie has an accident. She's a cyclist, and she ends up in a coma. And so Sebi sort of like,
and Sebi was about to be fired too.
She was about to be fired because Paul didn't like how close they were getting to like the kids and like their influence and stuff. Paul is apparently a therapist, but like also extremely lacking in his own self-awareness. And then the accident happens with Bessie, his wife, and he has no choice but to sort of ask Sebi back. And so Sebi decides not to go to Berlin with their best friend, Seven. And, this is sort of seen by most people as like kind of Sebi copping out and like deciding to be like stagnating, that they're going to just like stay looking after these children and not take a big life adventure and go to Berlin. But it's more complicated than that. It's more nuanced than that. And I think they do a really great job kind of like teasing out throughout the entire, I think 8 episodes. Is it 8 episodes?
Yes.
Why it is so important to Sebi to sort of like step in and fill in this sort of like vacuum that's happening in this family.
Yeah. And I like it so much that, like in a previous, in so many shows that we've seen, it's like the white male character of Paul would be like the central hero of the story. And that's just not the case here. And, like he's just this person who, like, I just think like all these characters, they get to rage at him for being such a annoying, self-centered, self-absorbed person all the time. Like, and you hear stuff like, to me, it culminates in the episode where he walks in on Seven in the toilet at the hospital and tells him like an insensitive catastrophe of the patriarchy. And it's just like, that it just feels like who amongst us has not wanted to scream something like that at some point?
Yeah. Seven gets some pretty great lines. Seven Seven's doing a lot of work in this series in really invisible ways, I think, and the relationship that Seven and Violet build together is like so wonderful. I just, Violet is 13, just turning 13, trying to figure out a bunch of like really important stuff.
You know what no one says about the age of 13? That's a wonderful age.
No one says it. No one
never,
ever says
says
13 is good.
No.
Because, it's just not. Like, even if your mom isn't in a coma, like, it's just not,
No.
And I just really, I really appreciate that as sort of, like, difficult as Violet gets to be, really, just like sweet and naive as well, and also really closed off, like she doesn't know how to deal with her feelings about what's happening and what's going on. And she also gets to be like, when she comes back from like the therapist that she gets to see seems so terrible at first. Like when you're first watching her in these therapy scenes, you're just like, oh God, how is this the therapist that this little kid is having to go see? But then she comes home and she's able to say to her dad, my therapist thinks that you want to try and feel all the sad feelings for me, so you shouldn't be the one to go to the hospital. Like, it's so beautifully articulated. It's so, that is even a bad therapist who seems bad can do good things sometimes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's nice to sort of, I don't know, just all of these like beautifully written scenes. Like as a writer, I kind of kept falling over myself thinking like, oh, I love the simplicity here. And yet still so much like complexity going on, like emotional complexity.
I really do think too that the title of the show works so well on so many fronts.
Genius.
Sort of, because, as you were mentioning, like the family, they look like the perfect family. Sort of,
Yeah. Yeah.
Going to Berlin must be the best opportunity you've ever seen or felt. Sort of.
Yeah.
It is such a great title. And I think that the more I thought about it as I was watching the show, it just sort of, it really guided the whole feeling of the show as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that title is genius. It doesn't surprise, like, Bilal's background is theater, and I think that makes a lot of sense in terms of sort of just like the economy of language and the way things are written. And there is a lot of crossover happening right now, particularly in Canada, between playwrights and television production. And I think several articles actually in the last like couple of months have been written about what is happening to the theater, or whatever, or what is happening to television writing. But it makes a lot of sense to me that, people who are incredibly good at creating dynamic characters that bounce off a stage really can make a character pulse on screen, and I just think if you're like really good at character work, and really great at writing, then you're naturally going to be probably able to navigate both worlds.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't really think about that. Perhaps I didn't think too much about the playwriting skills or what I was watching. But now that you say it, it does have like it does work in scenes. The show, they're very powerful scenes with a lot said and a lot of emotion packed into certain scenes, and like a play.
Yeah. It's weird, but I think it made me miss reviewing theater a tiny bit.
Oh.
Like I'm not going back, but because I don't go anywhere. But I do think but I do think it made me miss it a tiny bit, because it's just sometimes when, like, I don't know, good writing is such good writing, and we've been pretty lucky to see some of it on television the last little while, and we're seeing, theater creators turn great scripts into podcasts, or like have films, like readings of their plays and stuff, Anyway, I am not surprised that this won an award for writing at the Canadian Screen Screen Association Awards.
Yeah, because it's just like, it's funny and it's painful and it makes you think, and it's just like everything all in this one show. Like I really like another point, which I was like, I'm still thinking about too, is when they are in the Sabby goes to pick up Violet at the principal's office because Violet set her art piece on fire, and Violet pretends not to know them, and they have to call Paul on the phone to get the principal to release Violet, and so Sabby can take her home and basically tells him to white savior it.
Yeah.
I can't even believe so the act of fire is actually a different act. The one that you're talking about is when Violet punches the girl in the vaginal area.
Right. Yeah.
But honestly, both are great moments for Violet. Like when and when Sebi tells Paul to white savior it, it's incredible. It's one of
That's where it's really very funny, and those moments,
Yeah.
and I think it is quite nice to see the bumbling dad. You know, that's kind of a sitcom trope in a way too, though. But I don't mind it being pointed out for why it's annoying, because the bumbling dad in sitcoms is usually turns out to be right in the end, and luckily here, no,
and they do, like, Paul goes to some pretty dark spaces, like when he pretends to be Bessie and is texting her. I mean, yes, she's having an affair, but like when he's texting her lover, and honestly, when they have their scene in the garage.
Oh gosh, that's a good scene. See, that's what I'm saying.
God.
That felt like a play. That actually felt like a scene that two actors would want to do in some kind of audition process.
Absolutely. Because like when he's so relieved and he's like, "Oh, I do know my wife well enough to know that she would find you too stupid to talk to."
Yeah.
Please,
you're definitely having sex. Yeah.
Please confirm for me that this was a sexual relationship. And then the guy's like, "Yeah."
Yeah. Yeah.
I laughed so hard because that does say so many things about Paul, and the patriarchy for sure. But like it, and then when Sebi shows up and the dude's all like, "Oh, hey, Sebi," and it turns out like really Sebi has like had this whole window into Paul's family's life, and that like Paul, he's having to confront a lot of his ideas of like what his role in the family is versus what his role like in the family is in relationship to Sebi and in relationship to Bessie. And like, you know, just like having to really sort of like think about that a family does not require, and we all know this, but like I think this show does a really beautiful job of like pointing out that families are a lot of shapes, and there is not one specific person at the center of it all who is the nucleus, you know,
the main character.
Yeah. I really loved it. I really loved that.
Yeah, and I feel like they treat Sabi's like the story of their family, their relationship with their mom, with a lot of like nuance. And there's a lot of nuance there to that story, and it's, you know, like it's not what you'd think of it like as a stereotype of their story.
Yeah, I want to give like a huge shout out to Elora Patnaik, who plays Sebi's mom, Rafo. I think Elora is incredible.
Yeah, when she takes down the wall in the house, that's gotta be. That was incredible. I just absolutely, and I think that's another part of the dimension of this show is that it's got. I think it's one of the pieces that you, one of the reviews that you had here that what makes this show so complex is because it's, you know, dealing with, it's not here. It's from the Guardian's Zoya Patel. You know, Sabi is out and proud within the broader community as non-binary and queer. They're hiding their identity from their mother, Rafa, who is Pakistani, Muslim, and concerned for the future of her children. Seeing Sabi in full makeup and femme clothing pales in comparison, though, to discovering they're a nanny. Are you this man's servant? Rafa asks in disbelief when she finds out, glaring at Paul. It's this kind of nuance that makes Sort of, created by Bay and Fab Philippos so much more than just a story about gender diversity or sexual diversity or cultural difference or indeed any of these niches it will be crammed into by the mainstream TV paradigm. Instead of constructing a run-of-the-mill drama about the conflict between Sabi's Muslim Pakistani heritage and their authentic self, sort of creates a full cast of complex characters, none of whom are restricted to a simplified caricature of what they represent. I just love that piece of writing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that whole Guardian piece by Zoya is really wonderful. Like I highly recommend everyone read it and check it out. And they actually bring up like some good points as well about how the show is available in Australia, and that unlike a lot of other shows that do talk about sort of at least touch on some similar themes of like gender diversity, queerness, race, family, like there just hasn't been the media hype about sort of, you know, and they, you know, their piece is sort of like raising a few questions about why that is. Is it because the show pushes boundaries, but it's not explicit, you know, it's almost like it has like so much heart that it's not like and it's raw in its own way, but it's not like a hardcore show at all.
No, it but it checks all the boxes for the dramedy that you like to watch that are especially popular on streaming sites. So it is. I mean, I think we know why it hasn't been talked about or done as well, but it deserves so much more.
But yeah, it's just there's also something very Canadian about it in the tone, and like you know, you're saying it's not like an intense show. It's just like a very kind of easygoing show, even though, you know, like significant things are happening in these people's lives. It doesn't feel like the humor feels gentle. Like the characters are all treated with sensitivity, and I don't know, it's just it does feel like the way that people talk about Schitt's Creek being kind of like this gentle comedy. It does feel like a gentle show in spite of all the things it's talking about.
Yeah, and I was thinking about that a little bit too. It was just like, so like Kim's Convenience, Schitt's Creek, and sort of like, I mean, Schitt's Creek took a while for people to catch on. Like people didn't get super into it until like season 5 or maybe 4, but it didn't become like a global success until season 5, I think. Kim's Convenience, unfortunately, it's already over, so it didn't have a chance to sort of blow up huge. I'm hoping that people really get into like start watching sort of catching up on it now, and then before season 2 drops, like there's a huge push for it, because it's just such an incredible show. Like I'm gonna go back to like Zoya's piece, and just I want to quote this little piece here. Sort of as a show that is more than just pushing boundaries for the gender and sexually diverse. It's a show about love and life and death, and how the three can be more intertwined than we realize. It's about the mistakes we make when we're young, and how part of growing up is the inevitability of being disappointed by the ones we love. It's about figuring out who we are and expecting empathy, inclusion, and acceptance from our society. And I mean, I love, love, love that that's what this show ends up really actually definitely being about. And I think like, well, one, I'm so relieved that it's getting a season 2, because there are so many places to go. Like, I cannot wait.
I feel like we have been so overloaded with shows based in Toronto, though, but I don't mind it. But like, because Turning Red, it was just like this kind of neat look at Toronto, and then, well, I guess Kim's Convenience isn't totally recent, but I watched it recently.
Yeah,
and I love their version of Toronto, and like this version of Toronto is really cool too. Like I just feel like I'm really taking a dive into like what
I know what you're saying. You want a reboot of
life.
The Beachcombers, right?
Looks like in Toronto. Yeah.
I'm really excited. Like I feel like I really want more Bessie in season 2 because I feel like we got these like tantalizing glimpses of just her as a person, but we mostly have other people's experiences of her. And so I think it'll be like really, I hope we get to spend a bit more time with her. That would be really great.
Well,
and
she's coming out of a coma very slowly, but she is coming out. So I think, as we said, the end of season 1 really did have a lot of cliffhangers.
So many cliffhangers. And we've got Sebby's dad coming back on his way back home. I know that they're going to handle it really beautifully, so I'm not worried about it. But I just I want good things for Sebby, and I want good things for Raffo. And Aksa is already on her own 2 feet and has refused all kinds of, different things that she has been expected to do. And I'm just like so curious as to how they're going to handle all of these characters as they grow. I have a lot of faith though in the writers because they're so good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And of course, 7, special place in my heart. So funny.
7 is so funny. 7 is wonderful. And I really love the friendship between the two of them.
Yeah.
And actually, the styling is quite good on everyone.
Well, Sebby's outfits, incredible.
Yeah, always. And I love the big dome umbrella. I think that is such a cute touch.
I love that too. And even when Sebby ends up like sort of, wearing their old clothes, they've got stylish taste in sweatshirts. And I feel like, Lisa, I could have seen you in any of the sweatshirts.
Oh, I know. You mean like this one I'm wearing right now?
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I really were there can we talk about the final episode? I mean, I guess we've already talked about it a little bit, but were there sort of things that you wanted from the final episode that it didn't deliver, or were you happy with how the final episode ended?
I was really, I'm not sure if this is exactly the final episode, but I was really moved by the scenes they show of Sebby coming for the interview.
With Bessie?
Yeah, with Bessie. And that the whole interview that's like being asked pronouns and this idea that Sebby was trained to be an electrician and has this knowledge and was on this kind of different life track beforehand, and just to see it and to think about it, I just found that a very moving kind of way to tie up the series at the end, or tie up that the season at the end.
Yeah, I didn't find anything disappointing about it. I thought the show really did work an awful lot like revealing layers of an onion, because there was always something a little bit mysterious. Obviously, Bessie's in a coma, so we can only do things really with flashbacks, but we didn't really get a sense of their relationship until quite late. And then you understood a lot more as to why Sebby felt such a connection to the family. And it really is to Bessie and those kids. And I guess Paul's just on for the ride, I don't know really. But I mean, I expect some things from Paul too as this journey unfolds. So no, I thought it was a fantastic ending. I thought there was a happiness coming out of Sebby that made me feel really good.
Yeah, I really appreciated that, Sebby, I don't know, again, maybe I'm mushing the last 2 episodes together, I'm not sure, but Sebby gets the phone call from their mom with the instruction to live your life, and they decide to keep their part-time bookstore job and bartender job because that's a huge part of who they are, and they're also, I thought it was really lovely. It's small. It's a small moment to probably a lot of other people, but they give it a very nice weight of just that sort of Bessie asking, Sebby's pronouns, and Bessie only learned about that last week at some work function or whatever. And, it's not that Bessie, has this sort of big woke life or anything, but but she wants to honor people and see them. And I like those moments, like one of the things, Alex Jung, who writes incredible pieces for Vulture and New York Magazine, wrote a piece about a review of the show. And one of the things that he says in his piece, I'm just going to quote it quickly, that sort of is gentle with its characters, even as the stakes are existential. Everyone feels fully inhabited, and as Sevi's carefully compartmentalized worlds begin to collide, a fizzy alchemy occurs. Paul has his own crisis of faith as he creeps through Bessie's phone. Seven and Violet form a charming duo. Sevi's decision to stay with the kids reveals itself as an act of care for Bessie for reasons that aren't completely apparent until the end of the season, sort of suggests that what we owe ourselves may be bound up with what we owe one another. And I love that summary, because I think, I don't know, this sounds very hokey and altruistic and whatnot or whatever. I don't know, lots of different things. But I do think that our relationships with each other are that's life. That is life. It's what gives us reasons to get up in the morning, and then the people in our lives are so important to us. And so I really love that, we see Sevi finally really cry after they see Violet start to cry when they see that picture of the lion in that party. Anyway, it all comes together so beautifully. And I just if people can watch this show and not just not fall in love, I don't even understand.
Agreed completely.
Just how?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and also I just want to, how you're saying the mom's message, live your life. I think that is just really resonating with, children of immigrants in this, it's just at that point in your life where you have to have your parents kind of release you from this burden, this idea that, you have to become a professional, you have to become an electrician or a lawyer or an accountant or something, to be released from that dream of theirs for their children to do that it's just a major turning point in people's life. I know I'm this is different, but Simu Liu wrote about that on his Instagram this week about how 10 years ago this week he was laid off from being an accountant at and it was at that point he started working on his acting career, and it was kind of just giving up on this dream of being an accountant, and how it just changed his life, and he started building a life for himself, not for somebody else. And he wrote this really long, beautiful message about it on his Instagram. I'll link to it. But yeah, it made me think about that when I was watching the show too.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Ugh. I mean, I know that we could talk about this show forever and ever and ever, but I think it's a reasonable point to ask each other, does sort of pop?
Oh yeah, that's a big,
it's
10 pops out of 5. So
yeah, it's one of the best shows I've seen.
Yeah, I think it's the highlight of the year for sure.
Yeah.
I love it so much. Million, billion, quadrillion pops. It's great. I love it so much. Well, this has been a delight to just gush over the show with you guys. We also love to leave our episodes on something we recommend. Lisa, would you like to go first?
Sure. So I just binged my way through Netflix's Anatomy of a Scandal. I don't think.
Oh, is it good?
It wasn't the best show I ever saw, but it was juicy and filled with scandal. And Sienna Miller looks unbelievable. The sets, the clothing are fantastic. So it definitely passes the time. It's over the top. It's ridiculous. And, satisfying in its trashy way. So I am going to recommend it, though. Anatomy of a Scandal.
Nice. Thank you for that. AG, what about you?
So I just watched the first episode of this season of The Chef Show, which is hosted by Jon Favreau and Roy Choi. I don't know if you have seen or heard of that show, but I recommend watching season 1, which features baking genius Christina Tosi of Milk Bar, because you just like the episode will make you appreciate that she is a complete and total genius. She does this like sort of the concept is like elevated bake sale items. And so she does like it kind of really pulls on your nostalgia heartstrings to see all of these like, things you remember from childhood bake sales, but done in like such a cool way. And also like you can appreciate like she explains to you the technical parts about like why cookie dough tastes good or bad, or like what her secrets are to making stuff amazing. And so yeah, like I love Christina Tosi, and I think this episode is a really good example of like why she's a complete genius.
And where do we watch the show? Which
Netflix.
Netflix. Okay, good. Okay.
Nice. I'm also going to recommend something cooking related. This season of Top Chef has been great. I love Top Chef. They're in Texas. They've had, I think in part because of COVID, they've been relying on a lot of past winners and past contestants to be featured. They're also, they have like some pretty great current contestants. And I just love Top Chef, you guys. It really delights me. It makes me so happy. I love Padma. I love Tom. I love Gail. I love them all.
It's just a love fest. Then.
I had no idea.
Neither did I.
I love Top Chef, and I'm so glad it's back.
All right, good. Well,
We're coming up on Restaurant Wars.
So much for everybody to do this week, for sure.
Yep. It's a great time. It's a great time. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for listening. You can hang out with us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You could email us at popthiscollective@gmail.com. You could also rate and review us 5 stars.
And thank you to our own Top Chef, Andrea Gin, who produces and hosts. And that is quite a feat, I must say. So thank you so much to her, and thank you all for listening very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.